Good morning, Miss Peterson. I'm sorry to disturb you so early. The court has ruled that you require assistance in taking care of yourself.
I'm fine.
I'm afraid it's not up to you to decide. The court has appointed me to be your legal guardian.
What?
You have to come with me. And remember, I'm here to help.
Hello humans, I'm Paul Mount and you're welcome to my world of stuff. Today we're looking at I Care a Lot. It's a brand new psychological thriller. It's described in places as a comedy thriller. I don't really see that myself. It's online and available now on Amazon Prime. It's written and directed by Jay Blakeson, a name I'm not familiar with. And it stars Rosalind Pike, Peter Dinklage, who you'll know from Game of Thrones of course, Isia Gonzalez, Chris Messina and Diane West. And it's the story of a woman played by Rosalind Pike. She plays character by the name of Marla Grayson, and she's effectively a con woman. She's purports to be a carer looking after the elderly, and through a very complicated scheme, she effectively identifies, along with her partner, vulnerable elderly people, whether they're men or women. She identifies them and targets them, isolates them, and manufactures evidence to make them look as if they're unable to look after themselves, whether they're suffering from some physical or mental debility. So she conspires to get them placed into care homes. Once they're under her care, she describes herself as a carer, then she and her partner basically fleece their victims. They sell their property, they sell all their goods and belongings to effectively pay themselves and to line their own pockets. This scheme is all going along very well. They're making a good living out of it, until unfortunately they cross swords with the wrong victim. They identify this particular lady as being vulnerable and in need of care, but they don't realise that she is actually the mother of a very hard-hearted and cold-edged Russian gangster who's played by Peter Dinklage. Chaos inevitably ensues, as you can imagine. This is an intriguing film. I think to watch this film you'll probably want to be in Roger Moore raised eyebrow territory a lot of the time, because it's sort of implausible. You'd like to think that particularly in America they'd have slightly tighter controls on care and caregivers than this film seems to suggest. But of course, if you showed that in the film, then you wouldn't have a film. So you have to sort of set aside your critical faculties a bit and suspend your disbelief, if not hang it, and just go along for the ride. Because what you get with I Care a Lot is 2 hours of a really adrenalised thriller, which is intriguing because none of the main characters are characters that you actually root for or believe in. Well, I suppose you believe in them, but you don't really root for them. It's unusual to have a film where none of the protagonists you're actually rooting for. There's no good guys here, really. Marla and her partner are ruthless, and they will do anything to make themselves financially comfortable. Peter Dinklage's character, the gangster character, he's a ruthless drug dealer. None of that sort of side of his personality is touched on at all, really. You just know that he's a drug dealer. And I suppose the only character you feel any sympathy for is the lady that they fleece, that sets the whole chain of events into motion. So if you can set aside any misgivings you may have about the morality of what these women are doing, and there is no morality to it, basically, they're sort of robbing people, and if you can accept the fact that there's no likeable people really in this, and there's nobody you think, well, I want her to come on top, I want him to get out on top, but what you're left with is the cliche is a roller coaster of a thriller which really keeps you guessing about where it's going to go. It's very well played. Rosalind Pike is superb as Marla, really ice cold and ruthless and dedicated, but you soon sort of sense that she's met her match, and she knows she's met her match as well. I think the standout scene for me is when things start to go a little bit wrong, when she's put this lady into care, and somebody who apparently is a lawyer comes into her office and has this chat with her, and it's so dramatically captivating, the way that the discussion that they have across the desk, where he's trying to effectively buy her off because terrible things will happen if she doesn't agree, and he makes these veiled threats about the things that can happen if they don't release this lady back into the care of her grandson. And of course at the time Marla doesn't exactly know who she's tangling with. All in all, it is a thrill ride. It goes to some implausible places. I think the final act, it becomes a little bit generic. It sets up a lot of interesting questions, which it's not there to deal with issues about morality, I suppose. Really, it's just telling you a story about greed and avarice and ruthlessness, and I think it does it very well. It's a very well put together film, and I think towards the end you have to sort of think, well, I'll just go with this now, because as I say, the intriguing thing is that there's nobody here that you like as characters, but you still want to see what happens to them. And it's a bittersweet tale. It sort of reaches a conclusion of sorts with something which is a bit of a surprise ending. Possibly not if you've seen something like, I've seen a reference to Layer Cake, for example, which follows a similar sort of narrative path. And if you've seen Layer Cake, this film sort of wraps itself up in a similar way without giving too many spoilers. But ultimately, it's a big daft potboiler, I suppose, really, but hugely enjoyable, hugely watchable. It's not exactly brain off stuff because it's very intelligent, but you have to set aside the implausibility of it and the fact that you don't really like any of the people there. Very, very enjoyable. I particularly enjoyed the score by Mark Canham, which is not the usual sort of pseudo gothic sort of horror, creepy sort of vibe that you get in these films, sort of Bernard Herrmann sort of stuff, with dramatic stings and tense bits. It's a sort of discordant, clattering, almost electronic score, which is quite striking, quite tuneful in places, and it almost doesn't fit the film, but it sort of does, if you see what I mean. It sort of works because it's a discordant sort of film. It's available now on Amazon Prime. I actually cared quite a lot for I Care a Lot, and I think you will too, if you just want a bit of a thrill with an implausible, rather silly story. But it's very exciting and narratively quite satisfying in the end. So yeah, I liked it a lot, and I'm going to give it a good, healthy World of Stuff 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch out for more videos coming soon. Thank you very much.